Does anyone remember having to go to channel 3 on those massive TVs back in the day just to play video games? Well, from channel 3 to HDMI 2.1, as a gamer, I'm totally stoked to finally have my hands on the LG C2 OLED. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Last week I did my unboxing and first impressions on the LG C2, and let me tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes out as the TV of the year. In that video, I took a look into the unboxing, the setup, and I briefly touched on picture quality and gaming. And this week, I've had a chance to spend a little bit more time with it. The LG C1 was an absolute banger of a TV and it received lots of hype, so I figured the LG C2 would have to be equal to, if not better than the C1. But today, let me take you through my deep dive into media consumption, settings, and most importantly to me, gaming. So let's dive into the build and design first. While not the most important factor, as it has almost no effect on the TV image, look and feel do matter. I will mention that the model I have is the 55-inch model. This TV does come in other sizes, of course, being 42, 48, 55, 65, 77, and a massive 83. And from the get-go, the first thing I felt drawn to were the super tiny bezels. This display is almost edge to edge and looks incredible. Not to mention, it is ridiculously thin. Everything powering this set is inside of the housing, but this brings a nice aesthetic. This TV is also super duper light. The 55-inch model only comes in at 32 pounds with the stand. And if you're mounting it, it's only 28 pounds. The new stand for this TV is a lot smaller as well. Not that it matters for anybody planning on mounting this TV, but for anybody with a super small TV stand, this will allow you to actually set this up securely. I figured it wouldn't be as stable as it is too, but rocking it back and forth and side to side, I wasn't really worried about this falling at all. And lastly, I got a good question on my impressions video. If, while in a dark room, will this TV have a super bright reflection through the stand? And the answer is yes, but barely. I didn't really notice it much, and personally I think it's a non-issue. But jumping over to the ports, you've got all the standard stuff like cable in, infrared, Ethernet, and USB ports, but from the perspective of a gamer, most importantly to me are the 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. Again, as mentioned in my unboxing video, but a lot of TVs launching nowadays only have 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, which for me just doesn't cut it. For me, on my TCL R646, I had to use an HDMI 2.1 splitter since one of the 2 ports is taken up by my Google TV 4K for the eARC support. Thankfully, this TV does come with 4, so there's nothing to worry about in terms of the amount of ports you get. Of course, you've also got the 3 USB ports which do support video playback, including HDR. And talking about HDR, this pulls us over to the image quality because this is by far the best TV I've ever used. As you dive into the high-end TV models, it's easy to forget how good TVs look nowadays, and really this one hits home for me. This TV, of course, is an OLED panel, which will give you an incredible HDR experience with vibrant colors and super dark blacks. The black levels are absolutely insane. Since each pixel can turn on and off individually, this really gives a good experience. I will say I will be testing this next to my R646 from TCL next week, which is a mini LED panel, to see if this TV set is worth double the price. Now this TV has a really glossy finish, so reflections may or may not be an issue depending on your setup. For me, I'm right next to a window but facing the TV head on, and reflections haven't really been that big of an issue, especially since I have this cranked to full brightness. When it comes to HDR content, everything looks incredible as mentioned, the colors pop and it's hard not to love it. Not that it's totally relevant for me, but viewing angles on here are totally top notch, especially being an OLED panel. You can be sitting almost completely to the side and still see a good image. Not that you ever would, but it still looks great. And that takes me over to what I mainly use this TV for, and that's gaming. With the new generation of gaming still heating up, all games, even last generation PS4 or Xbox titles, just look so good. I used to be a PC gamer since I fell in love with high refresh gaming and low latency monitors, and I can say I've slowly been playing my PC less and less. This TV is absolutely packed with gamer specific features like variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode, as well as AMD's FreeSync and Nvidia's G-Sync. Primarily though, being able to just play 4K games at 120Hz where supported is absolutely insane. And with the PlayStation 5's recent VRR update, games that weren't previously high refresh are now. I've been spending a lot of time on Spider-Man on the PlayStation 5, and I can't wait to jump into the Miles Morales expansion. Auto latency mode kicks in automatically the moment you hop into a game as well, so you don't really have to fuss with any settings. And if you are a PC gamer like me and thinking about trying out the console space, really take a look into it right now because it feels really good. And if you do want some sort of abilities to change settings, the gaming UI overlay is fantastic. This shows you your refresh rate, your image profile, and even your VRR. I personally found the most use out of this when playing first-person shooters like Call of Duty Vanguard or Halo, and being able to easily and quickly change the black levels if you're really looking to fine-tune. Outside of the gamer overlay though, there are plenty of other settings to fuss with. For me, I actually just kept everything almost standard out of the box. I found the AI sound profiles though sounded like absolute garbage, but definitely play with it to find your preference, especially if you're going to be setting up a home theater system. Now, talking about the built-in user interface, WebOS has come a long way, as I mentioned in my first impressions video, but having spent some more time with it, I'm still not really a fan. The homepage alone just has so much going on. There's so much suggestive content, it's asking you to log in, there's widgets and just useless apps that I personally don't use. The best way I can describe it is just cluttered. If there were less clutter, I'd definitely enjoy it a bit more. I originally said I'd be using my Google TV 4K since I prefer the voice commands through the Google Home, and that still remains. Don't get me wrong, WebOS really will do the trick for you, it's fine really, but I just prefer the Google UI and the integration with my Google Home. I will say there are voice assistants also built in for Google Home and Alexa, which I'll talk about momentarily, but overall I still think I'll be sticking with just my Google TV 4K. And one of the best settings I'm happy they included is actually OLED Care. If you're unfamiliar with it, OLED panels can actually have artifacts imprinted into the display if the same pixels are lit for too long regularly, which absolutely tarnishes a nice display. Luckily, I've never really experienced that on anything, but LG did implement pixel scrubbing, which you can schedule when your TV is off. Well done, LG, for this feature. Now, when it comes to sound, these speakers are fine, nothing crazy really. I'm still going to be looking into investing in a home theater system soon to round out the whole space.
Come on.
But something I haven't really ever had before in a TV is the ability to connect to Bluetooth. I absolutely love my AirPods Pro. The noise cancellation is freaking amazing, and the fact that I'm able to connect to the TV and just zone out is incredible. That alone for me is a home run feature. Being able to enjoy late night content or gaming without waking up my family is definitely a welcomed feature. Apart from sound though, this TV does include both Google Assistant and Alexa, but I'll make it brief, it really doesn't function the same as it normally would. As mentioned, I'm huge into voice control through Google Home, and the assistants on here just don't seem to be as smart. More often than not, commands are totally missed, incorrect, or just don't load as intended. At least there is a button included on the remote if you want to speak directly, but let's touch on this chunky remote real quick because I still don't really like it. I mentioned it before, but the magic wand tracking is kinda cool, but still a little gimmicky, and while it's grown on me, I still prefer to just use buttons. Honestly, when it comes to remotes, I really just prefer smaller, more minimal remotes with less. This LG remote sticks out like a sore thumb, and plus I really just don't like big remotes. This remote is almost the length of a bag of milk. But to round out my review and thoughts, this TV is legitimately incredible. But I also have to think, is it worth the price? This TV comes in at a whopping $2,400 Canadian or $2,000 US, and that's more than double the price of my TCL R646, which I reviewed a couple weeks back. And yes, this TV is insanely great, but I can't help think if it's worth double. I will be posting one more video about the C2 and comparing it to TCL's 4K gaming TV. Until then, I'm going to be enjoying this TV a little bit more and gaming a lot more. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Until next time.